Hello, hello, my friends of Lotus in the Light. Welcome again to what's going to be it's my third video, but really my second message, if you will. Um, and so, again, everything's still new, so I don't really have any feedback. I'm not fielding any questions or topics of discussion. So, I'm just going to channel spirit to try to understand what things we should be talking about. So today I asked spirit what we should be talking about, and I was inspired to talk about, since we're basically at the beginning of this Lotus in the Light journey, it made sense to talk about the beginning of the Earth journey. Want to draw you all back to Genesis, to the Adam and Eve narrative. For those of you that have a Christian background, and for those of you that don't, if I have time, I'll touch on my thoughts around some of that in a minute, but or at the end. But to talk about the Adam and Eve narrative, um, and in particular the story in Genesis 3, which is dubbed the fall, right? Um, I want to pose a question to this group for you guys to chew on, which is probably going to require you to maybe go back and do some reading of Genesis chapter 3, and then let's talk about it. But here's what I want to pose to you. What if Adam and Eve did not fall into sin? What if they stepped into the human story? What if they weren't duped by this um, evil personification uh, via a snake? What if, um, what if it was a choice? So sit with me for a second. This is going to be a wild and crazy idea for those that are really rooted in the Christian narrative. I get that, wholeheartedly get that. But again, I'm not trying to persuade anybody to believe anything different. I'm just trying to expand the ideas in your mind, and then you can, take your own time to pray and connect with God and try to understand, uh, more definitively truth. That's what I love about hearing things that you think, no, that can't be true, that can't be right. Those are the things that throughout my entire faith journey, those are the things that I'd be like, why am I so quick to say that? And I would dig further, and a lot of times I would come to that same conclusion, but be really stronger in it. Or a lot of times I would come to a different conclusion. And so that's how my whole faith journey has progressed the way that it has, because I was willing to ask the questions. Because again, there's no reason to fear asking the questions. Um, there's no punishment for that. There really is not. Um, and if you think that there is, then please put that in the comments. Let's dialogue about it. I'll do a whole nother session on it. I love it. I'm open and welcome to all ideas and thoughts. So anyway, so let's take a step back for a second. I know that within the Christian narrative, the assumption is that we did not exist until we stepped into this role in the human existence, and that then from here we go on to an existence eternal, right? Um, but even from a scientific standpoint, if we understand that we are all energy, every human on this earth is nothing but energy. We are made up of energy. We are made up of source energy, aka God, aka spirit, aka the universe, whatever name you want to put on it. We are made of the same energy as God. Um, and that energy, if you know anything about energy, energy isn't born, it doesn't start, it doesn't die, it just is. So, um, even if you think about the Big Bang Theory and like that, and think of that in terms for those Christians that believe in a concept of like a Big Bang Theory, that wasn't new energy being birthed. That was just energy being, um, I'm not a scientist, so I'll probably say this wrong, reformed, whatever, um, used in a different way to create something new. So it was just being transformed, maybe is a better way to say it, into something new and different. But energy existed before our energy existed before we were here, is what I would say. So we existed before we were here. So, and you're welcome to disagree with that, but that is my belief system and the premise of this video. So what if we existed before already, and this is an eternal existence because energy also doesn't die, right? So it's an eternal existence, and throughout this eternal existence, our goal is just to experience things, right? To grow, to experience joy and love at its fullest, and thinking in terms of like what we've been taught about how we're just trying to draw closer and closer to God, to what we would call Christ consciousness. We just want to be ever more expanded and open to the full flow, the full understanding of the Christ consciousness, which Jesus Christ personified in human form. Okay. So thinking like that, okay, how can we continue to grow closer to God and gain that Christ-like consciousness? And there was the birth of the idea of this human experience, among others, I might add, but the human earth journey being one way that we can learn and grow. And so, in this concept, uh, as souls, again, let's entertain this idea, right? As souls, we say, how can we learn quicker, faster, better, easier? No one has to go, but if you want to go, you can go take form and go take up residency, if you will, in this human form, where you will be veiled from a lot of the things that we know now as souls, speaking as souls, right? Before this earth existed, we will be veiled from a lot of the truths and things that we know now so that we will make choices differently than we would now. Because obviously, our souls would never make a choice that would hurt someone else. They know what that would feel like. They would never, ever, ever choose to hurt someone else, even for their own learning. They just wouldn't do that. So, what if we choose to come here to have this experience where we would be veiled from all of God's truths, and it would be an experience and a journey in remembering. And in this experience, we would experience joy, but we would experience pain. We would experience love, but we would experience fear and suffering and, all these other kind of what we perceive to be negative experiences, because those experiences will allow us to grow. That being said, we don't have to learn through painful experiences. It's just likely that we will because we're veiled from all of the truth and wisdom of God, right? So it's kind of that we kind of get put ourselves in this place, and then we're trying to kind of work our way back. And in that process, we're learning. It's a journey where we learn. So what if the souls of Adam and Eve, and this along with Jesus, along with you and I, along with all of us said, yeah, let's do this. This is an excellent learning opportunity for us, for our souls. And Adam and Eve said, okay, we know we're going to go there. We're not going to make this decision to go against you, God, unless you veil us from the truth. And so it's with that veil and with this decision and this kind of storyline of, okay, once we're veiled, what's going to happen? We're no longer going to feel safe because we've lost our main source of power. Not really lost. You just don't remember it, right? You don't remember that you have this connection. And until you do remember, there's a feeling of powerlessness. And as we all know, and Adam and Eve were the first ones to do it, when you feel powerless, you make decisions to try to reclaim that power. You make decisions to try to feel some sense of control so that you can feel safe. So now Adam and Eve are potentially on this earth with all these creatures, with everything, foreign to them. And they don't remember their connection to spirit. They feel powerless. All of a sudden, they're presented with this opportunity to eat of this fruit that they know they're not supposed to eat of, but yet, when they do, what are they going to feel? They're going to feel in control. They're going to feel like they have the knowledge and the power to protect themselves, to survive in this foreign place. And from that decision on, we have been doing the same thing for centuries since. So we should all be able to empathize with that decision, right? Because we literally do it every day. How many of us proclaim a faith in Jesus Christ whose scriptures have stated very clearly that violence is not the answer, very clearly that that is not the way. We know it, we claim to believe it, yet we will defend war time and time again because we believe it's the only way in this world, right? It's we don't live in a perfect world, and people are, there's people out there that are dangerous and da 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 da. And so I don't care if you're conservative or liberal, Republican or Democrat, I don't care what you are, we all fall victim to the same uh to the same um belief that we have to protect ourselves. We don't put that faith, it's really a test of our faith, isn't it? Do we believe that God is going to protect us in that? And so that's what I'm proposing to you guys. What if Adam and Eve didn't fall into sin? They didn't get tricked into sin. They stepped into the human story by choice, accepting that role to start this journey of learning. And in that, I would say, if you can reread chapter 3, just reread it and think about it from that perspective. And maybe there's even some other perspectives or ideas you'll come up with. But from that perspective, then, I would say this experience and the earth experience in general is not a courtroom. We spend all of our time judging ourselves and each other when this is a classroom, not a courtroom. So when you go on and read the rest of Genesis chapter 3 and you see all the consequences of that decision that they made, what if those consequences aren't punishments? Because scripture tells us time and time again about not judging. And the reason scripture's telling us that is because that's all we do is judge. We judge ourselves so harshly that we can't help but judge everyone else too. And we say, oh, I don't judge. Yeah, we all do. We all do it. Um, but it starts here. The problem is, the problem is less that you're judging other people. It's more that you're judging yourself. The moment you stop doing that, you have no desire to judge other people. The moment you give yourself grace, you give yourself forgiveness, judging other people's not, it's not even necessary. So start here. And that's what, and scripture's all about that, right? Don't judge. We're not supposed to be judging, but we have turned this experience into a courtroom instead of a classroom. So read those scriptures. I remember years ago when I first came to the conclusion, not this conclusion, this is all new ideas for me that I was like, wow, yeah, this makes total sense. But years ago, I did come to the conclusion that I did not think that women being subservient to men was a punishment of sin, but a consequence, because Adam was made to be stronger, bigger, right, physically speaking, than Eve. As are most men, again, that's not always the case, but a lot of, most of the time, men are just physically bigger. Well, again, when we feel powerless and we're trying to gain control in our own lives, it's a survival tactic. If you want to feel in control, you've got to find ways to exercise power over others. So we think. This is not the case, but so we think this is the way. And of course, anybody that has that element of physical superiority, they are going to lord that over others. So it by default means that the male gender is going to feel superior to the female gender in that they can exercise that control. So I will then extend the question about temptation as well. So of course, we talk about Adam and Eve being tempted, and therefore this negative connotation to temptation. But I also would argue that temptation is a blessing, not a curse. And I don't know if we should go into that in this session, because I do want to keep the reading light, but I did want to, again, pull a card, an oracle card, because we had such a direct hit yesterday. And I still think I have a couple different decks, but for this group, I still feel like my spirit animal oracle deck is just the best one for this group. So, you want to know what I'm using? It's the Spirit Animal Oracle. So they're so beautiful, these cards are. So I wish I had a different camera so that you could see, but basically all I'm doing is shuffling. I'm setting the intention here that Spirit would provide for us the card that would be the most important message that we need to hear as a follow-up to this recording that I just did. And usually at some point, a card's going to pop out and Spirit's good like that. I've literally never had it go any other way than being exactly on point. So I don't expect anything different now, just waiting for the card to pop. I almost thought about standing up and doing it so you could see it pop out, but maybe someday I'll have another camera and you'll be able to see my hands. Of course, it's going to take 10 minutes. Wonder if that means I'm supposed to be saying something else to you. I will say something else to you. I'll leave you with the thought about temptation. I believe that temptation is, maybe I should back up a little bit. I believe that every, oh, just kidding. It just popped out. Coyote spirit. Trust in divine detours. Coyote spirit. Okay. So, I've never gotten this card before either. 16, which breaks down to a 7. So this is a direct message from God. Trust in divine detours. I wonder if this is going to tie to what I was just getting ready to say about temptation. If it does, I'll come back and finish what I was going to say. Okay. Do you find that you're being led on a strange detour in your life right now? Does it seem that what appears to be the next right action and the right choice, best situation, or fabulous relationship unexpectedly turns into the opposite or just disappears into thin air as if you've been tricked? Speaking of tricks, Coyote Spirit's trickster energy is designed to bring you into situations to teach you lessons you have forgotten to learn. Oh my goodness, I am going to have to go back and talk about temptation now because this is totally lining up. Perhaps you need a taste of failure before you experience success, a need to feel disappointment before you can truly appreciate the joy, love, and prosperity that is coming up for you. This is exactly what I was describing as why Adam and Eve, as why their souls, I should say, would choose the earthly experience, just like why your soul and why my soul would choose the earthly experience. Because I'm going to read this last sentence again. Sometimes we need a taste of failure before you experience success. You need to feel disappointment before you can truly appreciate the joy, love, and prosperity that is coming up for you. So in that spiritual eternal life, we're already experiencing the love, the joy, the prosperity, but you feel it at an even deeper level when you can contrast that with disappointment, with pain, with suffering. So for that reason, you may have chosen to come here to experience those things. And in fact, I would say you did choose. And I would say you chose very specific things to learn as well. And if you want a clue on what you chose to learn, look at the people closest to you. Look at the things about your significant other that drive you absolutely batshit crazy. Look at the things about, whatever child it is that you have the roughest relationship with, or, those are the things, or whatever your greatest issue is, if it's an addiction, whatever, those are the things that you chose to come here to learn. Those things. Look into astrology too. It'll tell you a lot about, I know I'm very ignorant, but I know enough to know that there's a divine intelligence behind the design of this world, and astrology fits into the puzzle. Okay, I'm going to keep going. Perhaps you are revisiting a pattern you forgot wasn't in alignment with the life you are intending to co-create. Being reminded that gratitude, not complacency, will keep you awake and aware of all that is available to you in this moment. Coyote spirit reminds you to laugh about the unexpected twists, to develop humility and gratitude while releasing your attachments to the form of your desires. Even when you suddenly find yourself on a detour, wondering when you will get back on track to manifesting what you desire, remember that Spirit has a plan and wants the best for you. Trust in divine order now. Coyote Spirit is a divine helper. No matter what seems to go astray, things are exactly as they are supposed to be. I do want to do a whole separate session about that. And then there's a protection message here. Sometimes a goal is so enticing and alluring that you lose your footing in the pursuit. I'm going to bring you back to Adam and Eve. Sometimes the goal, feeling safe, feeling in control, is so enticing and alluring that you lose your footing in the pursuit. You begin to fixate on capturing this prize, whether it be an opportunity you've always wanted, a relationship with that elusive someone, or the promise of that big break. Coyote spirit warns you that this trickster energy seducing you now will yield nothing but disappointment and unnecessary heartache if you let yourself be fooled. Great Spirit wants the best for you. So when your plans go topsy-turvy, know that Coyote Spirit is present to protect and bless you. Listen to her gentle warning not to take the world too seriously or to become too attached to the form and timing of your desire. Something better is beckoning. If you learn your lessons and lighten your heart, it will not be long before you see that crooked though the path may have been, you were on the right one all along. That actually does tie very nicely. So again, with each of these, as I read oracles, in particular, the animal spirit oracle will usually have both an oracle message and a protection message. So it kind of tells you like kind of two aspects to the energy of this card, that you the positive aspect of everything it's doing for you, but then also where you might need to kind of the shadow aspect of where it might be creating problems in your life, so to speak. So anyway, perhaps you need a taste of failure before you experience success. That's the Adam and Eve story. I'm going to leave it at that, folks. Thank you so much for joining, and I cannot wait for our next time together. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave some comments so I know what to talk about next.